All right, are we just about ready to go? All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Soltrans Board meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you confirm a quorum?
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Unless there are, do we have any statements of conflict with any members of the board that they wish to bring forth? No conflicts. Good. We'll move to the approval of the agenda. Unless there are any additions, deletions, or objections, I will move the approval of the agenda. Do I have a second? A second. Please call the vote.
Director Mashburn? Director Scott?
Yeah, aye.
Director Gordon?
Aye.
And Director Young? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. This is the opportunity for public comment for any matter not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Soltrans Board. Soltrans Board welcomes public comment on matters within our jurisdiction and authority, but strongly denounces hate speech, obscenity, and disruptive behavior in meetings. Disruptive individuals will be admonished and removed from the meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 957.95. We ask for members of the public to ensure their remarks are within the jurisdiction of this board and to refrain from making hateful or obscene comments. Manny, would you please start up our sign-up clock? Comment. Madam Clerk, will you read the comment notice?
Thank you, Chair Scott. Members of the public wishing to comment may sign up at the kiosk in the council chamber. Public attending by Zoom may click the Zoom icon, and those dialing in by phone, star 9. At the conclusion of our 2-minute sign-up period, in-person speakers will be called up to the microphone in registration order, followed by those who wish to comment on Zoom or by phone. While this item is the opportunity to comment on items not on the agenda, there will also be opportunity to comment on any item on the agenda at the time that those agenda items are heard.
Thank you. Manny, do we have any persons wishing to speak under general public comment?
Thank you, Chair. Currently do not have any members of the public signed up for this item.
Thank you. We'll now move to the Executive Director's report. Sorry, excuse me. Oh. Okay, it's all right. It's all cool.
Yes, Master, I did. I signed up, and so did she.
I think you're waiting to comment on the COA item, and this is just general public comment. Okay.
All right, please join us at the podium.
Thanks for being here. When Bob Sampayan became mayor years and years ago, we had a big festival over at the senior center with 200 or 300 people there, and we had a nice lunch, and then we had little panels on the wall where we could put stickers on our priorities, and this was a way to survey the people what they wanted. And I had to raise my hand and say, I don't see anything there that matters to me. I don't care about landscaping or the color of the buses or that kind of stuff. I care about benches and schedules. This was pre-cell phone when having a schedule was vital. Every other system in the world has schedules on the bus, to pass out, that sort of thing. Nothing like that here. You never know what's going on. All over Contra Costa, they got schedules on the phones, so you can know what's going on. They accommodated me by putting schedules, benches, and shelters on the sign. And shelters I consider a poison pill, but we still outpolled the sum of everything else because that's what people wanted, and nobody who in charge knew it. The issue with shelters is there's an obsession and a fetish with you people with shelters but I don't think you ever use one because after it rains for 10 minutes, the benches on the shelters are soaked and they're useless. I mean, you could have, if you were economic, we could have 10 benches for the price of a shelter and they'd be useful all year round, whereas shelters are relevant when it rains, but they're also worthless. So it's disheartening to see the old shelters at the Sereno being replaced with new shelters. And the first day it rained, I happened to be riding the bus. It'd been raining for 10 minutes. There I went, and it was all beaded up and wet. So I don't know how you can take public comments and not get the message that it's hard for disabled and old people to stand by a bus stop for 45 minutes waiting for the bus to come. You can't sit on the curb. If there's a log or something else you can sit on, it's okay. But we had these hurdle benches to lean on instead of real benches. All this stuff is beyond absurd. The other issue that's important to me, we pride ourselves, or some of us do, we think that our diversity is a great thing, and we have Rosa Parks memorial buses with gold-plated seats for and stuff like that. But this is a largely minority community. Solano College is a path to equity and education for minority and poor students. So to have cut off access to that by shortening the route of the 80, the old 80 or 85, whatever it was, so we have to walk a third of a mile or sit for an hour in the dark, in the rain, waiting for the bus with no bathroom, with no security, with no safety at all, is absurd. I have clocked, once I had a car and didn't have to ride the bus for a couple of years, I clocked the current route, and then I clocked another route where I went right into the school, stopped for 3 minutes, then I went straight out, carried on to Rockwood Road, straight shot to the transit center, and I got there just as fast. The variation was just due to whether you hit the stoplight, the last stoplight right. That would serve those students. 75% are black. There's one old guy there, disabled a lot of the time, then a couple other students.
Time.
That's about it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And let me just add one comment that you'll be hearing later this afternoon that we're talking about a comprehensive operational analysis, which is analyzing routes and where we might be going. Part of that would give us the opportunity to look at how we could build bus shelters and/or bus benches, etc., if we're going to be moving some of the stops. So if you want to hang around, you're more than welcome to. Did you? Thank you. There's another person wishing to make public comment. Please join us at the mic.
I live on Corcoran and Minnie. Oh, I live on Corcoran and Minnie, and we're surrounded by schools. There's like 4 schools. At the bus stop, the parents picking up their kids constantly park in front of the bus stop. And then you have the ice cream truck. So it's really hard to board the bus. So I was wondering, is there a way that we can maybe put a red zone on the curve where the buses are so that people can board? Because it's the bus has to stop way up on the hill, and there's no reason for them to stop right in front of the bus stop. I was just wondering. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll take that into consideration. Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, I was going to say that we have the same problem in Benicia where people stop in front of the high school where there's a bus stop and park right in the wait for the kids. I don't know if it's painted red or not. I'm not sure painting it red is going to make a difference. Calling the police. Oh, well, Mayor Source is here. She's heard you. And I can't speak for Vallejo, but that I think is the proper way to try to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Young. Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment on an item not on the agenda? Thank you, Manny. We'll now go to the Executive Director's report. Beth?
Thank you, Chair. Next slide, please. We saw a huge spike in ridership in March, despite Vallejo schools being on spring break for the last week of March. This March, we saw the 3rd highest ridership for last year. Next slide. Since our last board meeting, On March 20th, staff spent an additional 40 hours in the community and talked with over 420 people. We received 376 online survey responses so far. This is exciting. For the fourth year in a row, we were awarded, we attained accreditation, an accreditation award through the Golden State Risk Management Authority. And because we did that, we have been awarded $24,939. So that's some great news. And I want to thank the team for working on that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Beth, and congratulations on that. It's always encouraging to see ridership going up, and hopefully we can see a little connection to fare box revenue, which would be great. And we'll be talking about that later again in the conversation. Do we have any board of directors that would like to make comments?
Yes.
Please, go
Through the
ahead.
chair. Yes, I just, this is a minor ask, is that I want to make sure, I was going to ask, since we are a separate entity, that we have Soltrans badge, director badge, especially when we go out and about and we're representing Soltrans. I thought that would be more fitting because I did request it for PAC, and I was attempting to wear my badge and just cover the patch, but the PAC chair, but just making that a request. And also, I'd like to ask if we could, no, I just wanted to share that we had some really engaging conversations at Machete Coffee regarding people's concerns about the routes. And so I know we're going to jump into that, but that's just one of my report that I was able to hear back from the public and their concerns. Thank you. And they like the fact that you are saying that you're going to extend it.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Do we have any public comment on this presentation?
None at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Manny. We'll move to proclamations and presentations, which are none, and on to the consent calendar. Next item is the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be adopted in one motion unless a request for removal or explanation is received from a board member. Items removed from the consent calendar shall be considered immediately following the adoption of the consent calendar. Are there any public comments on the consent calendar? Anyone wishing to make a comment?
None at this time, Chair.
All right. Are there any board members who are requesting removal of an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, I move to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second? Second. Do you all have your screens working? Okay. Thank you. Are we all in?
We have 2 votes outstanding.
All right, we'll just call the roll, please. Okay, that's what we're going to do, voice vote? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? Okay, consent calendar is approved, even though. Regular calendar, action items. We're now moving on to the comprehensive operational analysis. Draft concepts, we'll start with the comment period. This is the next item, 8A, system-wide comprehensive analysis. We move to Beth for an update.
Yeah, with this item, we're actually asking to extend the public comment period and close with a public hearing on May 15th, which would be the next Soltrans board meeting. Other than that, I don't have any more updates.
Can you give us a quick overview of how many open meetings that you've had for public comment and how the response has been?
Yeah, the response has been good. We've talked to over 420 people, as I said earlier. We have about 376 online surveys. We've done over 20 meetings. We still have more meetings to come. They're going to be up in the North County, Vacaville, Sassoon, And then we're going to do another meeting in June with the STA board.
I got a question.
Supervisor Mashburn?
Yeah, and so are we doing anything like on the various bus lines where we've done like ridership polls and those folks have made statements and comments? Are we incorporating that as well?
Yeah, what happens is once we close the public comment period, the consultants take all the surveys they receive, all the public comments we received, then they start working at revising the plan. Then the plan will come back and we'll take a look at it to see how we did. But we're taking every comment into consideration, what people want, what people don't want. On the bus? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm talking about on the bus. And then my other question would be, in listening to that guy's presentation.
Yeah.
Are some going to be weighted more than others? Because when it comes to that COA, there's going to be some things like the express line that are more effective.
Yeah.
And so are those riders' comments going to be given a different level of priority, or does everybody just get the same priority no matter what? Or
I don't know that they're weighted, but we do get on each route and we ride and we talk to the passengers. So staff has ridden, I don't know how many bus lines, and you guys are welcome to join us at any time. So we do hear what the passengers have to say, and not surprisingly, a lot of the express riders really like the plan because it's every 30-minute service. And for the local service, one of the most important things that we've heard is people want the weekend service. So in this plan, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday will mirror Monday through Friday. And that's what people want, to get around the community at all days. So far, it's been real positive.
Got it.
Mayor Young?
Thanks. On the survey, are you tallying responses as they come in, or have you got a sense on some of these basic questions already?
The surveys go directly to the consultant. We're not touching the surveys.
Oh, so you haven't seen them?
We haven't seen them yet. This way, the staff is not affecting the outcome of that. So we
Okay.
really want to hear what the people have to say.
And a comment, I think when we get into the review, I think it's important to separate out Solano Express and the local service and have separate conversations on both, because obviously Solano Express has wider county-wide implications, whereas the local stuff is pretty much just Vallejo and to a certain extent Benicia.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Gordon?
Yes, I would like to ask, when you do get your report from them after they tally everything, I would like to see some of those concerns that was shared, that was voiced, so that way we can build off that, And then when do we receive the final report? When do we receive that?
It's going to take a few months to tally up all the comments and then make adjustments as needed. So I don't know if you have a better time frame.
No, I guess, when Mandy's back in May and we have the public hearing, we can ask her. I'll ask her if in that meeting to lay out the timeline. Typically, she brings back the survey results, so you'll actually see all the survey questions and, the tally of the answers. And then she usually posts actually all of the comments for you to see what people are specifically saying. And I would imagine she'll bring that back in potentially the June meeting, hopefully, but maybe it won't be till July. But you'll see those results probably before we come back with revised concepts.
So you'll send us an email of what that looked like?
Oh, she'll bring it in a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was kind of want to see it beforehand, before the board meeting. As soon
Okay,
as you
we'll
receive
talk
it.
internally about what can be,
Yeah.
shared.
So we're not surprised and we're not, wasting valuable time. We could look at it
Sure.
and have questions prepared when we come.
Right. So at the very least, if it's in the board packet, you have a week before. So you're saying, don't bring it to the meeting. Make sure it's in the packet a week in advance, so you have time to digest it.
Thank you.
Got it.
And then my next question is, whenever you do ride, please feel free to email us, because I know myself and Mayor Source, that was supposed to be on our agenda. I did ride, and I wanted to see what Bus A would look like and Bus B would look like, and how far someone would walk to either the hospital and to the Tuolumne Hospital. I mean, we call it a social services network, and it was challenging. I carried my bags as if I was carrying a baby, and and I carried a whole bunch of stuff to see how that feels. Thank God for the automobile person, he came and helped me. So it is a challenge for my concerns with bus 4. And so, but I just wanted to see first before I get all worked up. But as I was right, it is very much a large concern. And I also timed the hours too, by the way. So if you didn't want to run the bus 4, it is very, very busy even after 6. I was going to propose at first maybe having a light schedule after a certain time, but to my surprise, they get on the bus on at the depot right here, and then they ride all the way as far as they can take it, because I just got off at 12 and got into my car, got parked at Grind, and then I didn't ride it back. So I don't know the challenge of that. I'll probably do that next time. But I also noticed that a lot of people go to the CVS right there, like they do their business there, and then they walk down. So it's like, I guess you can cut your hair, oh no, you don't know. So Church's Chicken is right there, so they went there. So I just watched, just sat in my car and just do some observation to see if that's the only place that is utilized, and it was really widely utilized. Thank you. Oh, and sorry, free legal aid. 3 people went to free legal aid.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Would you mind jotting some of that down and providing that to Beth and to Christina in written form?
I sure will.
Thank you. That'd be great. Mayor Source?
I'm kind of telling them that now, so I didn't have to write it. I'm dyslexic.
It'd be good to catch all the nuance.
I will. Thank you. I took pictures
Okay,
too. I can send those.
good.
To the point earlier, I just wanted to give a shout out to Mandy. She came to the Glen Cove Community Association meeting, and as I'm part of it and was also there, I got to introduce her and say a little bit about Soltrans, and she was wonderful and got a great reception. And this was in one of the communities that's going to potentially lose its bus line, so I think that really speaks to the ability to articulate what the goals are of the COA, and so I just wanted to thank her for doing that, and I'm hopeful that someone will be able to come to Richardson Park on Sunday for the Easter event in North Vallejo, because that's going to be another one where we're going to try to reach as many folks in North Vallejo as well, and I'm really thankful that we're extending the period, because I think that'll give us some more time to engage folks in the crest. With that, I'm happy to make the motion. Do you want to make the motion,
well,
or you have something to say?
Yeah, I have something
Then
to say.
I will hold off.
What I would like to do is I'd like to echo the mayor's comments about Mandy. I joined her in Benicia and did the intro, and she handles every question. She is specific. She has direct eye contact with everyone. She has all the information behind her, and she recognizes the individual needs of each one of them and probes. And it's not just a quick answer and then move on to the next one. She really takes her time and is very careful and responsive to the needs of the people who are asking questions. So before you do that, I have to ask for public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make a public comment on this item? Then I will entertain.
Yeah,
A motion.
I'll move approval of this extension as it is stated in the agenda.
We have a second. Let's take a voice. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those against? Terrific. Thank you. All right, now we are moving on to item 8. Turn page. This is the operating and capital budget. Christina is going to do the presentation. I toss it to you.
Good afternoon. Before you, in your packet, you'll see the draft budget. Tonight, all we're looking for is feedback and discussion. We'll come back in May with the final budget with any potential changes after tonight or anything that may come up in the next month. Next slide. This year's budget, we're looking at $23.1 million. It's a little bit higher than the current year. We have sufficient current year funding, meaning I'm not dipping into reserves. This is all actual funding allocated for just this year to cover both all of our modes of transit, local, Solano Express, and paratransit. Next slide. This is the slide that you saw last meeting in the 10-year forecast that Shows kind of a breakdown of the funding streams between how we fund our local and paratransit. You'll see that's primarily funded with federal 5307 funds as well as our TDA. And then Solano Express, you'll see how that's funded with Soltrans' TDA in the green, just like it is on the left, other operators' TDA, the STAF funds that pass through STA, as well as ARM2 and ARM3 funding. This is the last year of ARM3 funding right now. They have not decided after next year how they're going to allocate ARM3 funding ongoing. So this is this is guaranteed for this year only. Okay, this is very similar to every other year with our operating expenses. Our major cost driver is contracted transit services with salaries and fuel coming behind that, vehicle parts and facility maintenance, composing most of the budget. Leaving small amount for all other expenses. This slide, I broke down the direct contracted transit costs by mode, as well as other direct expenses to operate the service, and our indirect overhead allocation. The details, I'll put it in your packet in May where I detail what these expenses are, but direct operating expense is basically the drivers. It's the vehicle revenue hours for driver costs, as well as the vehicle maintenance and the fixed management costs that we pay our contractors. So that's pretty much TransDev, is that first line. Other direct operating expenses would be fuel, vehicle parts and tires, the facility costs of operating our operations and maintenance facility, as well as all of our transit centers. And then indirect G&A is, of course, the Soltrans staff salaries and benefits, technology costs, professional services, insurance, advertising, other G&A expenses. And then I also showed you what the cost per hour is for each service. That's obviously the fully loaded cost, as well as the cost per mile. And I've noted there for Solano Express that actually we have an agreement in our funding agreement that we don't cover, the partners don't cover our transit center costs. They certainly will help cover the O&M facility because that maintains vehicles, but they do not cover any of our transit centers or park and ride, et cetera. So backing that out, the cost that would be given to the funding partners is $230.37, which is less than $1 more than what we actually are doing this year. The reason is because we allocated overhead a little bit differently this year. Typically what we do, what we've always done over the life of Soltrans, is look at how many hours of service we run and allocate overhead based on hours of service. In the past, when we first started Soltrans, it was about 88% fixed route, 12% to paratransit. After COVID, it ended up being more 90-10. So that's what we've been doing. Well, the last year, and then what I see is coming in again this year, is really 86-14. So we went ahead and switched the allocation to be fair and to be correct of where our costs are going. And that actually lowered the overhead that was being allocated to Solano Express. So that's how we ended up with the same cost rate this year than we have, that we will have for next year. Next slide. This takes the same information, but it just gives you the cost per hour broken down by type of expense. This gives you a sense, if you were to compare to other types of service, what may be the contracted cost that we pay versus what another service might pay, and it can help you make better decisions comparing other services. Okay, contracted trans services. So as just a reminder, everybody, our contract with TransDev covers drivers, road supervisors, dispatch, mechanics, customer service, bus utility workers, and the management team. 60% of our overall budget. The contract is split into two parts. We have a variable rate and a fixed fee. The fixed fee is set at a dollar amount for the year. This one's about a 3% increase over the prior year. The variable rate covers pretty much driver wages and benefits, and the rates have increased based on the new CBA that they did last year with the union, that TransDev executed with the union, and we agreed on the rate increase last year. So it's 85, we pay TransDev $85.55 for every revenue hour of service, and then we pay less for paratransit. Soltrans staff salaries is just under 12% of our overall budget. We have 14 full-time employees. We currently have no vacancies. This budget is basically current salaries, as well as I have built in an amount to cover merit increases that we usually do July 1st. We don't do automatic COLA increases. We look at the COLA rate as a base for potential increases, but we're actually a merit-based increases our program. We actually have also included one additional employee. This is for an in-house IT network technician, title TBD, to be funded with the resulting reduction in IT consulting costs. Our IT consulting costs have gotten very, very high. We actually met with the HR and Finance Subcommittee yesterday to discuss in detail the costs we've been paying for this, and that it would be a wash to bring it in-house, and not only a wash cost-wise, but we would have far more hours of dedicated time from a technician or a network manager, et cetera. We'll bring more details back in May about that position and exactly what this person would be doing and why they're needed. Okay, and that's it for operating. I don't know if you want to stop here and ask questions about the operating budget before we get to capital, or do you want me to finish?
Yeah, this would be a good time to ask questions. Supervisor?
Thank you. I think here I'm a commissioner. Is that what we are here? Yeah, I'm teasing you, Terry. I'm giving you a bad time. Anyways, I don't know if my question's for
The
you.
respect you're
or for
owed.
Beth, or for council. I ain't for sure, really. But, so I'm just clarifying for my edification, because I've been told that in our budget, that the STAF funding, right, that goes to the thing, if we don't sign an intercity cost-sharing agreement, that we possibly would not get that STAF money until such agreement is signed. And so I wanted to know, is that a deal? Is that a thing?
That is what STA is.
Okay. I know that's what they said, but.
I just want to clarify.
All right, sorry.
Can I clarify one thing? The STAF money is solely the STA board's discretion on how to allocate that budget. Typically, STA staff brings it to the STA board in July. I don't know why they do it after the fiscal year starts, but that's when you will see the full STAF budget to approve. However, at the end of last year, at the end of the 2030 committee, the STA board, I believe, I'd have to go back and find the minutes, already approved using the STAF reserves, so not the current year allocation, but the reserves, to fund Solano Express once the COVID relief funds were gone. So I don't know if we have to sign the agreement or not for that. The agreement we would have to sign in order to claim TDA from other jurisdictions.
Okay, now I get that piece. So then the follow-on question to that is, when are we going to sign this thing, and what do we got to do to sign it?
Yeah, we had an agreement at the last Intercity Transit Committee that Soltrans would bring back a modified version of what we feel we can sign at this point, which would talk about the funding piece. When it comes to the operating piece, we're in the middle of the COA. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, so we think we came to a good compromise here, and we'll know when we go back to the Intercity Committee.
So is there a way to just take out the piece on the operating and
Yeah,
just sign
that's-
the money piece?
Yeah,
And just get it done?
that's what we have proposed, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's
Well,
what I needed to know, because
yes.
we just need to get it done. And if that means we got to take out the operating piece and deal with that later?
Yeah, that's exactly
Because, I
what
mean,
we...
the COA ain't going to be done for quite a while.
Yeah.
If we wait that long, then that benefits nobody.
Right, so that's what our proposal was. They asked us to come back with that the end of this month to the committee, and we'll see what they say.
Okay.
And wasn't, you missed the last STA meeting, but wasn't there a discussion about this with Daryl? Wasn't he okay with this proposal?
I don't remember. He just asked that we draft something and come back. So that's what we've decided to do.
Okay. Let's draft and get it
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's at the end of this month is the
Yes,
next
ma'am.
meeting.
Thank you. That answered my question.
Yeah, we're being very careful on that. We want to just split it based on what STA is suggesting, and then we will go forward.
Thanks. So just so I want to follow up a little bit on Supervisor Mashburn's question. So what's the difference between the STAF population-based and the funding partners
And the funding partners.
in your chart here
In
on
the pie chart,
third-
the TD, so the funding partners allocate TDA funds to us. So TDA is derived from the sales tax dollars that go to each jurisdiction. So what I put in my claim to MTC for TDA dollars, I'm allowed then to claim money from other jurisdictions. STAF dollars is state money that passes through MTC and STA, and it's state
Oh,
transit
okay.
assistance funds.
But it says it's population-based.
And it's based on population. Well, there's a pool of state transit assistance funds that's funded with diesel taxes at the state level. And when they allocate it out to the entire state, they break it into two pots. One's based on your revenues that you report back on to the state controller for your county, and the other portion is based on population. And
Of
so
the individual.
population's the much larger pot. The revenue-based money comes directly to Soltrans, and it's tiny. It's like $400,000.
The STAF stuff.
Yeah, STAF.
And it's
revenue-based.
not based on how many people get on Solano Express in
No,
Vacaville,
no,
or that's
nothing,
where the
no.
funding partners piece is?
No.
Well,
No,
But we get different amounts depending on how many people are getting on the buses in different cities.
oh, no, not for the, no,
Solano
not for the
Express.
STAF. The STAF is strictly a pot of money that's meant to fund transit.
Right.
That-
But is that where the funding partners part?
No, the funding partners are pitching in their TDA, their sales tax money.
But it's not connected to the number of riders that are going on
That
Solano?
is,
That's what I'm trying to
That
understand.
is, that's connected to
Okay,
the rights. That's the
okay.
survey that STA does to figure out what the riders of residents, to figure out how much.
Okay, that helps.
Okay.
On the proposed operating expense by mode chart,
Okay.
one of the things that happened at the STA meeting, which you didn't hear, was we asked for an analysis of the van pool cost. Or we didn't ask for it. Lorene from STA came forward with a budget amendment of $600,000 to pay for that van pool going to Sacramento. And we asked, how many riders are you serving? And if I remember correctly, the answer was 9 a day or 7 a day. Do you remember?
It's like 9.
9 per
9
day.
a day,
Per day.
average.
Right. So for comparison purposes, can we figure out what our cost per rider is on maybe not every Solano Express route, but say the Red Line, for example? Is there a way that instead of $244 per hour, we can then also say, and in that hour, we typically average X number of passengers, so that we could then have a comparison against their $600,000 a year for 9 people a day?
We could probably do something like that. The only thing that's making me hesitate is it's two vastly different types of systems. So it's
Right, but we're always trying to look at microtransit, like the van pool, versus big buses.
Right.
What's more efficient? What costs less money? What costs more money?
Right.
As we're looking forward, because we're going to have to make some choices a
Right.
year from now.
Sure.
I think we could do that, but I think we would have to have a more in-depth analysis, because I don't know that, again, I wasn't there, I can't say, and I didn't look at the budget that they were requesting the $600,000 for. Is it just for that one line that runs from Sacramento, or is it for the microtransit as a whole?
No,
I
it's just
don't
that
know.
line.
It was that line, and they also made the comparison from a van to an electric bus and the cost per revenue hour. And so it was the comparison was way off.
It was not an
And that's why I
apples-to-apples
think you're right.
comparison.
Comparison of cost per rider would probably be more efficient.
And then the other thing I would offer up is that I heard a lot of times before I got here about how nobody on this board wants the STA board telling them how to do business. And because there are several of us who sit on both boards, it's very hard to not have spillover, but I don't think Soltrans necessarily needs to get all up in STA's business about what they're doing with their $600,000 and what their folks are asking, and for us to be, again, all up in their business.
Right.
And that's fair, but I think it would be fair just to say, this is the number and this is the number.
Because there are people who have criticized Soltrans for their costs and effectiveness.
And to that end, those folks are paying Soltrans for a service. Last time I checked, Soltrans isn't paying SDA for nothing. So us having a say over what Soltrans does and their board, as a Soltrans board, we ain't got that because we ain't got no skin in their game. They have skin in ours. Now, as board members, there's 3 of us who sit on their board, who have the right to ask questions and can do all those things about STA policies. And so all I'm saying is, if y'all want to draw a hard line and not have them telling you how to do business, we don't need to be making comparisons and going back the other way.
I'm not necessarily
I'm just
being
trying to-
critical of this, but I think if we're looking at what's a more efficient mode of transport, should we be looking at microtransit for the Solano Express as opposed to big
So
buses?
we can look at those numbers, but then the other piece of that we have to look at is exactly what we're looking at in the COA, which is, do we want to have a whole bunch of buses at a big cost and have to change the routes, and then those 9 people and the students that go to Davis and the students everywhere else, are they going to lose service, right? Like the guy that was sitting out here who was a little less than happy, right? That's not able to get up to the hospital or wherever it was, he got shorted a mile. Are we going to have that type of instance, and do we need to change the dial so that, and that maybe that change in that dial is a van instead of a bus, having to drive all that way up to Davis? Maybe it is that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it can't hurt to have data.
Yeah.
Data always helps.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I agree. And what explains, Christina, the difference in the cost per revenue hour between a fixed route and Solano Express? Why is it more expensive for Solano Express, where you're making fewer stops, carrying more people?
It's the vehicle maintenance because the buses go significantly more miles. And so,
Local.
so the agreement
Oh, the
has
express.
been, with the partners, that most things are allocated based on hours, but vehicle maintenance is allocated based on miles. Because we have to do like PMIs every, 3,000, 5,000 miles, so that's where the cost comes in.
Okay, and my last question, about the, and maybe you guys talked about it yesterday, but the additional employee, the new IT person, that cost we know what that cost is? Is it in our salary schedule, or we have to create a new position, or?
I put a placeholder in this budget, shifting the dollars out of professional services to salaries and benefits. We'll have more information in May, but I want to say, depending on what type of person we get, we are looking at a salary of between 110 and 175, and then our benefits are about 35% of the salary. So,
And so we spent more than that number on consultants.
far more.
Okay. All right. That's it for the capital stuff.
Councilmember Gordon?
Yes, I appreciate this analogy and the pie charts and all that, but I too am data and stat visual person. I would like to see an org chart and also the salaries, how much that is going to, the percent thing is all wonderful, but if we're talking about budget cuts and cutting routes because of whatever the reasons, I would like to see more of it in depth. I mean, as a board, that is our responsibility to see what that looks like. We're seeing everybody else's numbers, but I'm not seeing that number. So I would like to see that. And also
For all
to,
the Soltrans staff.
that is correct. Thank you for clarifying. And also to, I'd like to see maybe like the last 3 years of what that looked like. So for example, you might have had 9 staff 3 years ago. You have 14 today. I'm just using that as an analogy. So I'd like to see more of an in-depth of what that looks like. And my last one was, how much is the money that STA wants to give to us? I mean, we're talking about cutting routes because we're supposed to be in a budget crisis. And if we have money opportunity, I want to know how much is the money, because I was there and they were not happy that they were willing to work with everyone. I heard them say, we take this out, we take this out, we take this out, will you sign? And from what I was told, from what I heard you say, Beth, was no. You wanted to look at it some more, and I get it. I'm not debating that, but I just want to know how much is at the table, and what is the real concern. We as the board has the right to know what are your real transparent concerns. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Councilman.
first,
I'm
can I
sorry.
just clarify that we're actually not talking about cuts at this time. The COA, we're keeping the hours flat. So we're trying to better use our current resources and the current amount of hours. We are not looking to actually cut the total number of hours of service for any service.
For clarifying, but
Yeah.
I did hear this prior to, but anyways, I still want it regardless. I just want to see what your
Staff.
organization
yeah, I
chart
could certainly-
and everything that I like to still see it. And I would
Yeah.
like to see it in enhanced because of my disability. I like to have it in the packet.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. And in the binder, if you will, please, so I won't misplace it.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to address one comment on the IT. Carefully, we will be presenting at the next meeting an analysis that shows significant savings and improvement of IT. So we know that the questions are going to be asked, and we are prepared to defend the movement towards a full-time IT person and the adjacent savings that are accompanying it. So,
I have no problems with that. I still want to see the whole.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
I imagine.
we had a very good conversation yesterday about that. Mary Ann?
So I think in following up to Councilmember Gordon's comments, we're okay for the upcoming year. It's the year after that where things are really going to fall off the cliff unless something changes.
Not necessarily. Actually, the 10-year forecast that I put forth last meeting, if we continue to receive our federal formula funds, we could be okay for a while. We
Right.
could be okay for at least 5 years, maybe even longer if we're really careful.
But that is a big if, considering the federal government, what they're doing now
Yeah.
with all kinds of programs, and the fact that RM3 has not been renewed
Right. Right.
in terms of our. So I think, we have to be thinking, sort of looking at these things separately. Next year is going to be one thing. The year after that could
Yes.
very well be something different.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you had additional stuff there was comments I wanted to make about the written report, but maybe you're not done with your,
I just need to cover the capital projects is the last.
this is not capital, this is
Oh,
administrative
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear.
Well, okay, so your summary said, quote, "There is substantial overhead for staffing, facilities, technology, insurance, and other general and administrative expenses." The word substantial is a little troubling. And so, given the likelihood that we may have only one more year of stable revenue at this level, I think we need to start talking about, at the board level and the staff level, about what does that second year budget look like and what kind of cuts should we perhaps be anticipating so that if it drops on us, we're not scrambling at the last minute. So to have a contingent budget planning process for year 2 that is a little different. And in those costs that are other, I think we have to include a lot of the consultant stuff, the marketing stuff, the public outreach stuff, certain things that could be considered extraneous from our core service
Sure.
requirements.
Sure. I should clarify for you. When we get our federal formula funds allocated to us, I typically I'm not programming those funds in the same year that we receive them. So I'm usually at least 1, if not 2 years behind. So I actually have money built up in reserve, if you will. So if funding got cut, let's say next year, I've got at least a year, if not longer, to figure out what to do. So it won't be a crisis at any one given moment.
So this fiscal cliff is overblown, you think?
No, I don't think it's overblown. I'm just saying we have built up some reserves so that, it's not going to be an immediate crisis. We'll have a little bit of time to figure out what we're going to do.
Well,
So.
we're going to need it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be,
Yeah.
we've got 2 months to figure this out.
No,
or something.
no. You can't change on a dime with bus service like that.
All right, thank you.
Also, another question, a very big concern. We have a big building that I remember that it was state that having this location right here was going to be very beneficial and cost efficient and everything, everybody could be housed in it. So if that's the case, why are we paying extra money for a commercialized building across the way from a lawyer, a private person? I'd like to know, if so, how much are we paying? And could we really do without it? Because I see a lot of money is going in from the last time I saw that packet. And I don't think that we should be wasting money on a building when we have ample enough room in the building that we are now, especially at the bottom half. See how it was supposed to be a coffee shop and a police station. But I'm just concerned, whether you do it or not, I just want to know how much we're spending to that, whether we need it or not. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
I'm in agreement with the council member. It seems that we have the transit center building, we have the police property that we just approved last year on Georgia Street, and we have the facility on Broadway, and we only have 13 employees or 14 employees. So, it does raise the question, do we really need all of this office space given the size of our administrative function? So I think it's worth looking at that. Whoa, easy there. Wow.
I can answer a little bit. 311 Sacramento, our main administrative building, was built as the intent was to be a department of the city of Vallejo. So it was meant to house a handful of the transit, program, employees. We have 14 employees. There is only 5 offices and 3 cubicles. So that would be 8 people. Our facility at 8th, this is for 311 Sacramento. That's the upstairs. The downstairs is the driver's break room and the ticket office and utility rooms. And yes, there is a little corner office that was meant to be a coffee kiosk, but it's in its exterior door, and sometimes security uses it. It's not an office for any employees. For 1850 Broadway, the O&M facility, there's over 100 TransDev employees. We have one office area, one small office area that when we are there, we have a couple employees share. But other than that, the place is packed. There's no empty offices or in space. I mean, unless we repurpose something. But I don't even know what that would be. It's pretty packed in there. We rented the property across the way. We're renting it below market. I believe we pay no more than $4,000 a month, so it's less than $50,000 a year. Yes, it is. It's money, but it's right there at the transit center. It houses what do we have? 6. We have 6 people there, and so we have 8 at 311 and 6 across the street. I don't know where I'd shoehorn six people somewhere. I don't know. No, because unfortunately, the building that was built by the city of Vallejo just wasn't meant for a separate agency. It was supposed to be just a couple transit employees with all of the overhead, you know, legal and accounting, everything over at City Hall here. All the people in 311, our transit center building that we own?
Yeah, if we didn't put people in the transit center, could everybody fit in the leased property across the way on Georgia
Not unless
Street?
we rented the upstairs too. But we own 311, so I don't pay other than to maintain it.
You own it.
We own it. Plus, it's got the driver's break room, the ticket office. Yeah, believe me, and we have remodeled the 311 multiple times, trying to figure out how to better configure the space. It's just, you know, short of repurposing the conference room into maybe a couple interior offices, is probably about the only way we can get maybe another couple people in there. That's about it.
Okay, let me, can I ask another budget-related question? It's not on the agenda. But we bought that land next to Broadway with the intent, I thought, of perhaps trying to develop it and
Correct.
sell it and make some money. What's happening with that? Are we making any progress on
No,
that?
the intent was never to sell it. We
Well, to
bought
develop it, to lease
expand,
it,
develop it,
to do
expand
something
it
with
for
it.
what we're going to need. No, that's actually part of the capital budget to allocate some funding to have somebody come in and help us with a visioning study of like what are the uses that we could use that property for. It's really got to go hand in hand with how we think we're going to be transitioning the Solon Express fleet. If we want to go hydrogen, we would need to have a way to fuel those buses. So that's one alternative, is to build a hydrogen fueling station there. We could put a building there with more office space, or not. I mean, there's options, you know. So we kind of want to start the process of a vision of what are some possible uses for the space and the way it's configured with the yard. So we're hoping to do that this year.
Because I'm not sure what the commercial real estate market is like. I mean, it's pretty rough, that there's more space than there are users in general.
Oh, that's already built? Sure.
Yeah.
I think typically what we're looking at is expanding the yard space. The buses are pretty, we got a significant number of vehicles and not a whole lot of space left at this point. Hence why we had to put all the electrification overhead, because there was not enough ground space. So.
Well, I look forward to just talking about that, because I think that is a site where we might make some money if we do it, and we certainly need money, like the parking space on Cortola.
Right.
Same thing.
Oh, right. If we built like a fueling station that we could open up to the public as
Or even housing.
Sure, or there's options.
Okay, thank you.
Perhaps at the next meeting, you can present us or just a sheet that talks about the three structures and three buildings, how much they cost, what is the overhead, how many people are in each building, and then present that just for informational purposes, if that'll help.
Well, yeah, I'd like to.
Please.
Yeah, because you all were making it, because you just did this deal like last year, right? You just did this deal last year?
Oh, for the lease?
Yes, across the way.
We used to lease half of the upstairs, and that was 4 offices, and we realized we were still short 2 spaces. So we went ahead and the tenant downstairs vacated. So we were able to move downstairs, also because the upstairs is not ADA compliant. There's no elevator, and it was becoming an issue for a couple of our employees. So we moving to the first floor, so it's ADA compliant, and it also gave us a much larger conference room, because the conference room we have at the transit center building is very small, and we couldn't even fit all the staff in there for a meeting. Whereas the lease space has a much bigger conference room, and that's where we meet. We meet with the public. We had our stakeholder meeting in there. We had our funding partners there. Otherwise, it's tough. We could go to 1850 for a conference room, but that also means all of us driving across town for a meeting. So.
Well, my concern is that we're giving private person funds, that we have the city building here, we have multiple locations that we should be utilizing if we're trying to save monies. The person being a private person, I do have a concern about that, you know, and I just think that we should really utilize the buildings we have, and if we do have space that we purchase as Mayor Young stated, then we need to utilize those spaces. You know, in my opinion, we should save whatever dollars we can. $4,000 is a lot. in my opinion. So I think we should look at leaving third-party people out of the conversation and making sure we utilize buildings that we do have available, that we are spending money for. So I do like the idea that Chair Terry stated that, I see your last name, sorry, Chair Scott state that if you could please bring that back at our next meeting, I appreciate that, with my previous request. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Christina. And I just have a couple of really quick questions. I want to get on to the next item. But 2.4 COLA,
We use the Bay Area COLA rate. The rate's not out for April. When I looked at February, it was about 2.4 for the annual.
so that's what it looks like. Okay.
And, yeah, so that's what we're,
Second, vehicle parts and operating expenses, recognizing that we may have, and I'm not bringing politics into this, but we may have a problem with tariffs. Do you think that $900,000, $990,000 is going to be able to cover the amount of money for parts and labor for our parts coming across from Mexico or from any part of the world, coming into America for an aging fleet that we know is at almost that pivot point of, being outdated?
right. We were actually just having a meeting with our contractor yesterday with the regional maintenance VP. So those are questions that have been posed to them, and we're waiting to hear back what they think. I don't know where they source all of their parts and what the entire supply chain is for parts, because they handle that. Some things are obviously local. One thing I will say is we have done a complete cleanup of our inventory. We know exactly what we have, and we've tried to build up we know the key things that we go through faster, build up a bit of a reserve to help mitigate this. So we'll, I will hopefully have an answer when we come back in May on that.
Okay, I just have two more quick ones and we can move on. On the capital budget, fiscal 25-26, we talk about the amount reflects new budget and revenue requests as well as carryover of approved budget. Do you have any idea the approximate amount of that carryover? When I was looking at attachment B, I couldn't find how much the carryover was.
Oh, well, my last two slides, well, they break it down. The top part of the attachment B is the carryover projects. Projects that have already been approved, money has already been set aside for. I've kept the 14. In fact, can we go to that slide? Yeah, there we go. So I kept the 14 Gillick buses, even though we know that our federal grants right now are in a little bit of limbo. I will tell you, since the last meeting, we did submit both of our federal grants for the formula funds as well as the discretionary funds. So they're in FTA's hands now. They're reviewing them. We should have an answer soon. I'd say by the summer, by July, August, where we stand with the funding. Gillick has put our, they will not buy the parts and build these buses until they have assurances from us that we have the funding. So that's where we're at with that. But I've kept it in the budget because the money theoretically will be there and it's been set aside. And then these are the other two projects that we were approved last year. We're still, the interchange system is still the last phase of the CAT AVL system that started years ago. And we've just had a lot of issues with the supply chain on some of the monitors. And so we're hoping that that's going to be done this summer. And then we're looking at our phone systems. And then the camera replacement at the O&M and the Curtola, those cameras are getting to be 12 to 15 years old, and they're not, they're outside, so it's time to replace them. And we actually have funding, as you'll see in your board attachment. There's funding for half of it that's already been dedicated, so I'm not using all of my TDA for that.
And then, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it for carryover projects.
And then the next one, and you can go right into C, but
Next slide.
we talk about technology.
Yes.
And we say that we've issued an RFP twice, but have been unsuccessful on the phones. Is there any opportunity to reach out to STA or whomever and see how they might be able to recommend a vendor or
I think that's exactly what BC's been doing, is finding out who else needs robust phone systems with customer service, with phone trees and routing calls around, et cetera. And obviously we can reach out and find out what the Solano Mobility, their call center, what phone systems they're using. And we're looking at options, but so she's reaching out directly to different companies at this point.
All right, thank you.
And then just to wrap up on the
Yeah.
new projects, vehicle maintenance and shop equipment, this is pretty normal stuff. The shop equipment has already got funding that we set aside. Vehicle maintenance, this is just ongoing, usual capital repairs, when an engine goes out or a battery pack on one of our buses. So that's what that cost is. Facilities, we put in our new door access system for our new security system at our O&M facility. We want to now extend it to the rest of the properties. So we've been planning that for a while. This is where I also threw in money to hire a consultant to help us with kind of a visioning on the new land. And certainly before we ink a contract and obligate that money, that would certainly come back to the board. And then we've got other technology projects, which I don't know why that's escaping me at the moment. I think there's another trapeze upgrade. It's our paratransit software is extremely old, and we need to get it up to the new century. So we're looking at upgrading that, as well as some of our, usual laptop servers. We have a kind of a rolling schedule, as usual, to replace these things as needed. And then bus stops and wayfinding is quite a bit higher than we typically have because we're in anticipation of the COA. If we do change a lot of the local routing, they'll require a lot of new bus blades, potentially benches, shelters. And that budget, this is the minimum probably we need to spend on bus blades alone. We will then be assessing benches, shelters, et cetera, and we'll come back with, and that might be in the next year's budget, or we'll come back and do a budget amendment.
Right. Go ahead. Hold on.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, please.
Thank you, through the chair. I have a quick question. Have you ever thought about having a committee for the wayfinders and bus stops? Because there's been a lot of concerns that people are having trouble, especially those with disabilities. For example, I sit on MTC's a bus stop and wayfinding, and I am elated about all the information that people are suffering and missing buses because of lack of signage. So I thought about maybe to ask that here, because it is a concern. I experienced it with my son Chris. I had him get on the bus, and he takes pictures typically, as he did from here to the BART, and here he got lost. So, and as a parent, I struggled, but I just thought about maybe we should consider doing that, something temporary, just to do something like that. And then my last thing, I apologize.
We're going to be part of MTC's, the wayfinding project. We're actually going to be part of the pilot. So I think Mandy's going to bring something to you at a future meeting about what that, and MTC's giving us money, and we're going to be part of their pilot project for wayfinding.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then also, just to clarify, I want a line item chart of the finance I was saying earlier. I was trying to figure out the right word, but it's a line item chart is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone wishing to make public comment before we move to 8C? All right, Beth, you're on.
Thank you, Chair. It's the time of year where we bring forward our draft performance goals. So we'll be reviewing the 25-26 performance goals. The goals remain the same. The objectives and the strategies have been updated or changed since last year. So the goals were service, operational support, governance and agency longevity, capital projects and IT, zero emissions transition. So a lot of the projects that Christina talked about are captured in the strategies and the objectives here. I didn't know if you wanted me to go through each one, or we're really here to get some information back from you, and we're going to bring this item back next month after we get some input. Yes, page 33. So if you want, I could review it real briefly. Okay. So the first goal of service, the first objective is develop and monitor performance measures. So we're continually reviewing that and changing those around. Then the next one is completion of the COA, which you guys know all about. Then when it comes to goal number 2, operational support, the objective is to reassess the safety and emergency operations plan and staff training. We're looking at marketing and brand identity, developing the short-range transit plan, which we already have a contractor for, continue to assess and complete standard operating procedures, finance on long-term financial stability. Then we get to goal number 3, governance, state and local efforts. We monitor those. We participate when necessary. We monitor initiatives and trends that enhance customer experience and sustainability. And then when it comes to capital projects and IT, we've got to develop a fleet management plan, ensure the state of good repair for existing infrastructure, explore and prioritize new innovations and opportunities, regional mapping and wayfinding project, which we just talked about, develop a land purchased next to operation and maintenance facilities, so to engage a contractor to help with a visioning process. Goal number 5, successful service transition to zero emission. We have update the zero emission roadmap, continue to meet, surpass Soltrans zero emission plan, provide federally funded workforce development to our contract staff for future zero emission standards. And with that, if there's, you can offer any comments or send comments to us. We could revise it and bring it back next month for discussion.
Supervisor?
Just real quick, because I know I'm going to hear it at a different meeting. Any of those things in there that are goals or statistics or whatever that relate to the express piece, can you guys either, when you're giving your presentation up there to STA, can you tell them what those are and if any of them are adjusted or anything? Or if you ain't going to be talking to them for a while before this comes out, can we do, I don't know what you would call it down here. In my world, we call it a significant issues memo, right? It doesn't reach a level where it's got to be an agenda item, but it's something that would inform the board up there, like, hey, this is what they're doing that directly affect the lines that pertain to you. And then so that way there can't be no belly aching.
Yeah, understood.
Perfect.
And I believe Soltrans now has sort of a permanent spot on the agenda at STA meetings, so they're going to be there every time.
I think we're scheduled, we're supposed to be scheduled every quarter to make presentations on the performance of Solano Express. So
But we need to do it before then, just, maybe get a memo into them so they can get it out to the board members or something. If it affects the line, if those goals don't affect the lines, then it ain't their business.
Just for Solano Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea, great idea.
Through the chair. When you say collaboration, what do you mean by that? I mean, it's probably visible, but I just want to hear it out loud. Is that like networking? Working great
for
with
the
all these
state,
people?
the state and local efforts?
Yes.
Yeah. We
Thank you.
engage with local groups, state groups, the whole bit.
Any other comments? Any comments from the public?
None at this time, Chair.
All right. So there's a staff recommendation. We have a recommendation to receive the proposed fiscal year 2025-26 operating and capital budgets as shown in attachments A and B and provide feedback to the staff, which I think we have done. With no further comments from the board or public, this agenda item is closed, both on on B and C. We will now move to non-action informational items, which is 9A, System Performance Report.
All right, next slide. So productivity, we'll go over trips hours and ridership metrics. Next slide. So ridership by route, we have most of our routes experienced an increase. The most notable increases are on the school trippers. Next slide. Express routes experienced an increase, as we can see here. Next slide.
14% increase on the yellow line and 6% on the red line, right?
Yes, just for March to March,
Oh, just year over year.
year over year, yes.
Included in that is the youth ride free? All right, so
Well,
I mean,
not
we
on-
really need to recognize that.
But not on the red and yellow line.
No. I'm saying
Express ridership.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
there are some youth on Express, but not.
Yeah, not as common.
significant.
And ridership year-to-date by mode, ridership year-to-date has increased by 10% on local, 77% school, 6% express, and we dropped a little bit in ADA by 8%. Trending ridership by mode, March has seen an increase of 11% from last fiscal year. Next slide. And this is by mode for school. Trending school ridership for this fiscal year so far has seen an increase of 95% from last fiscal year. And the next one for Express, for trending ridership, has seen a 9% increase from last year. Next slide. And ADA, ridership has seen a 1% increase from last year. Next slide. Productivity is increased for all modes, local at 8%, school at 64%, and express at 3%, and ADA at 25%.
How do you measure productivity?
Productivity is by passengers and revenue hours. Express monthly productivity, so the average, as you can see for Express, I mean, for our average passengers, you can see the numbers for, let's say, for example, you have the R at 32.3. I mean, these numbers exceed numbers that could manage to be serviced through vans. Next slide. So missed trips versus with scheduled trips. So missed trips increased by 15% since last month. So we went from 52 to 60. Soltrans' expectation of having 0 missed trips has been communicated to our contractor, and they've provided us plans for addressing and improving their performance in this category. Next slide. So we're going to go over performance. That would be OTP and verified complaints. Next slide. So on-time performance has been progressing in an upward direction. OTP goals have been communicated to our contractor, along with the importance of meeting Soltrans' performance standards. Next slide. We have trending verified complaints. For March, we were at 31. Next slide. Safety, we're going to talk about accident metrics. So next slide. We were at 3 accidents in March, 2 were non-preventable, and 1 was preventable. Next slide. Any questions?
No, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, I was just going to say, the numbers are all trending in the right direction, and I want to, commend you and TransDev for moving this in the right direction. Thanks.
My question real quick was on the on-time performance, right? The OTP one. It went up in February, but it looks like it took a dip in March. And so I just want to make sure that the contractor, is on notice. Hey, we want to make sure that trend line keeps going the right way, and then maybe at some point get them to do a little report out on what they're doing to make sure that stays that way.
The contractor is on notice, big time. So they're giving great details, and they have to report weekly.
That works. Sometimes it's better. It works better when they hear that from a board member who controls their contract. Right?
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to toss it out there from the dais.
Yeah.
I do the bad cop thing in most of our meetings. That's why I do.
Yeah, it works.
I'd like to echo the supervisor's comments too. That has me concerned because we were really trending very good before, and then all of a sudden that big drop off. And although 4%, that 4% hurt, 4% 95% of those people were waiting at the bus, missed the bus. And is it primarily drivers, or was there equipment malfunction, or?
So there's a combination of many things. So we have drivers, we have dispatchers that kind of play a role in this, and oversight management issues that all play a role into these numbers. By details, I mean, it could be a dispatcher providing the incorrect information and the driver going to the wrong location, which I've seen multiple times. I've seen issues where buses were sent out without enough charge to continue on route. I've seen issues with buses not having enough fuel to continue or even be used. So there are multiple issues that the contractor needs to resolve.
So it sounds like you have started conducting in some form of a root cause analysis on each one of these areas and looking for some commonality throughout the months of seeing where there might be issues and the ability moving it forward.
Yes, I actually performed an exercise with our contractor on root cause analysis. I actually did a fishbone exercise and just kind of showed them the cause and effect analysis on their performance, and something that they could share with their management team as part of an exercise to get them into the mindset of thinking like what we want to happen in terms of our expectations. I've also provided them what we call a racing matrix, which is responsibilities, accountability, consulted, and informed. And it's just a way to manage tasks and who's responsible for making it happen, and assigning team members and daily meetups with management to ensure that they're on point with their actual tasks, what they're assigned to. Because what I've noticed with our contractor is that they get a lot of, they have everything in the kitchen sink thrown at them when it comes to things that are happening in operations, and it's a hard thing to manage. You can't manage all these things through a notebook by taking notes. You can be a great note taker, but when it comes to management and tasks and leadership, you can't do it through a notebook. You have to have a system. I even went over the Kanban system and meeting and day-to-day one-on-ones. And the new general manager, he appreciated it, and he's used some of those tools to place in effect at the location. And we'll see the results. Hopefully, it's helpful. But he's given us very many compliments on that service that we provided them for free, pretty much, and we're looking to see if this works out. Hopefully, if they use the tools correctly, it will work.
Thank you. Well, we've spent most of the time talking about missed trips and things happening within the system. It's truly congratulations on an incredible increase in punctuality, monthly productivity, ridership, and the trending in ridership, and being able to cross all lines of management here at Soltrans. So thank you, and you deserve to be complimented and congratulated for keeping the system together. So I'll move on to Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, through the chair. Can we go to slide 7, please? I just want to share my concerns. So on slide 7, we're almost there, right there. So we have 37 missed local trips. I think of students, I think of everyone. That's a lot. I don't know which route this has affected. Maybe if you could please give us in future, like, where are these bus being missed for data purposes? And also, since we are supposed to be getting feedback from folks, we can't get no feedback from 37 missed trips. And then from the Express 21, that's a lot as well. I mean, that's a lot. And so a total of 60, yes. I 100% agree with Chair Scott that on the next page, that you dropped your numbers. That, yes, 1,000%, I want to congratulate you for that. I mean, you went from 79 to 31. So That is good, right? That's good, right? Want to make sure on 15, page 15. So I congratulate you. But I also know how important that you take this, Ron. That's why I'm not being so hard on you, because I know you're more hard on yourself than anyone, because this is passionate to you. So this number is not good. I remember you had a lower number than that, and you was not pleased. So I know that you and the new operator is going to be working on this. I do want to know, what is the plan? You know, if you could incorporate that with us. What is your plan to help work on this so that we can better support you, however that may look? So that would be the plan. And I'd like to know, did any of this go through PAC, and what was their comments?
Yeah, I mean, I share this information with the PAC monthly about our performance, and I don't think I go so much into details of the day-to-day of what I do with the contractor, but I do monitor their day-to-day performance. We do have conversations. I do know a lot of the details of what's going on with, you know, employees and what performance plans they have for their staff and the details regarding that stuff. So there's a lot of details. I don't know if that would be appropriate to share here when it comes to in terms of day-to-day, but the contractor is working to correct the performance issues, because I've made it very clear that I do want to see 0 missed trips, and they do know that I raise a lot of concern when they miss a trip. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because I tell them, you know, I express our concerns about a person waiting at a bus and not being notified that the bus is missing. You know, the bus is not coming. If they're not updating the apps, and there's a lot of things that we've experienced in the past that I'm trying to get them to work through and to make happen. And so that's just part of the day-to-day and my oversight over our contractor, and that's pretty much been the plan. And that's why I provided that 2-hour session with the general manager and his operations manager, just to help them understand how to use tools to manage effectively.
Thank you, because I do think about that person, like was said earlier, especially if they're trying to make a connection, right? They're trying to make that big connection, whether they need to go to the Bay Area, and they miss that bus does not come, then their whole system is out of whack.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
have people depending on appointments, medical appointments and stuff.
Absolutely.
So I wholly agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone wanting to make public comment? Please.
Hi, my name is Sonia Brown. I am speaking on behalf of the operators. I'm an operator there at Soltrans, Transdev, and I've been an operator there for 24 years, minus 4 that I left and came back. And me and most of my coworkers, we come to work. The ones that come to work, we come like 15, 20 minutes early just to go out to check the buses, because I have a problem with passengers fussing with me, because I'm there to get them where they need to be. And I have to come 15 to 20 minutes early, because the 12 minutes that we get for pre-trip is not enough. And the reason why I come in early is because if something's wrong with the bus, I need to have a mechanic correct it, or if it's wrong and they can't correct it, now I have to pre-trip another bus. And most of the buses, when you come in so early in the morning, you have to pull it off the line, go park it somewhere else, and do all of this other stuff. But if we came, so if my schedule started at 4:15 a.m., I'm supposed to report at the window at 4:15. If I came at 4:15, I would be late every day, every single day. You're gonna be late.
Sonia, thank you for 24 years, and thank you for your passion.
City Council members, my name is Floyd Hall. I have a matter of great urgency to express to the council, and particularly you, the mayor. I'm a person who, I've lived in the city for almost 40 years. I went to school here. My whole life has been about Vallejo, all my life. My church is here, my family, so this is my community. Recently, I've been reporting that I'm being harassed in the city of Vallejo to the Vallejo Police Department. I've sent several
If I may,
responses.
this is not the appropriate forum for this. This is about Soltrans and issues about transportation. That would be a city council issue. This is not the council. So I apologize, but this is not the forum, and I'm going. If you would like to make a comment about transportation or anything that you heard tonight, please, you have the microphone.
Well, it has a portion of transportation involved. There are fleets of vehicles that's from an agency, an unknown agency. I'm not quite sure what the agency is. I believe it's possibly tied into the Department of Justice. They are grid locking streets here in the city of Vallejo.
I apologize, but I am going to stop. And it's not truly about this. Please. Thank you. Is there anyone else?
But you can leave your information and we'll get back with you. You can leave it with the Manny right there, okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
That's why I pointed to Manny. I'm sorry. Thank you for articulating that. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make public comment? If not, this was an informational item, and we will move on to item 10A. This is the legislative report. This is a non-discussion item with the report included in your agenda packet. However, if any member wants to pull this item and bring it into discussion, now would be the time. Is there anyone wishing to go through the report and bring an item up? No?
No, I appreciate the information. I like how it's laid out. I'm finding it helpful. So whoever put this together, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Manny, will you confirm that we have any other public comment on the legislative item that was in the packet?
None at this time, Chair.
All right. Next, we'll move to the final portion of the meeting. This is the Board of Directors' comments. Do we have any member of the board who would like to make a comment? Please.
Thank you.
All right. I thank the operator as well that spoke. We really appreciate your insights and your perspective. I'm working out, just for transparency's sake, I teach immediately before this meeting and have office hours, and I am clearly still figuring it out, but we only have to do it for one more month, and then I'll be able to switch my schedule. So thank you all for bearing with me. Wanted to just flag again that we're very grateful that Beth is coming to our 2x2 with the school district next Thursday. That will be a great time to give an update on the Youth Ride Free. And I think there was even one other thing. Oh, the COA, talking about how to engage the school district and make sure, they have a really strong reach with our families here in Vallejo, and so making sure that they're engaged. And I also wanted to provide a couple more events in addition to the Easter that I mentioned earlier. We're also going to be having Dia del Nino at City Park on the 26th, so the 2 Saturdays from now. I know Mandy's out, but if there is someone available that would be able to table, I would love to invite you all, 26th, 11 to 3. And then the last thing that I have is just a quick update that the Vallejo City Council we have interviewed for the PAC appointments for our 3 open PAC appointments. Councilmember Gordon and I both participated in those interviews, and we will be making those appointments, if all stays along schedule, on May 13th. So we had 3 applicants for 3 slots, and we will, if nothing changes, we'll be ready to appoint them on the 13th.
Councilmember?
Yes, we are having a grand opening Easter party in District 6, South Vallejo, at the Norman King Center. That's going to be April 20th. It's all free to the public. Izzy Gooley, she is so creative. the amount of work she's put into it is amazing. Also, too, we're doing a South Vallejo cleanup on at Manual Temple is where we're meeting up at on the 26th, which is a Saturday. That's including bus stops. We've already been starting that already, by the way, because a lot of bus stops don't have garbage cans, so people are throwing it behind the garbage cans, behind the bus stops. So we've already started. So if anyone wants to come out, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is helen-marie.gordon@cityvallejo. We'd love to have your participation. Thank you.
Thank you. My only comment would be, Beth, could you tell us, or could you give the board members when the next couple of public meetings are on the COA? It does help when a board member is there and hearing directly what comments are being made about transition of routes, et cetera.
Yeah, offhand, I don't have that right now, but I will be happy to email them to you
If
tomorrow.
you would, thank you. Okay, with that, with no further comments, I adjourn the meeting.